Past the halfway point now in the Grand Prix of Dallas with the IMSA Endurance Championship. We had a change of leader. First, the pit stop by Joe Vardy, and then on the racetrack, Doug Goad got around Stu HAYNER. And so Goad now leads in the #1 car. There's a look at HAYNER in number 32 tucked in behind him, first and second. Third now is Bernie Cochran in another Pontiac. And Tremblay, after taking over the driving of car number 70, is back in 4th position. Andy Pilgrim is suiting up because they have a pit stop. There's Andy Pilgrim, and so he'll be taking over the #1 car that started outside the front row. The car that is now leading will be turned over to Andy Pilgrim. The helmet is on, so obviously we can anticipate a pit stop very, very soon.
Of course, what these guys are waiting for now is a caution flag, which would obviously help their cause immensely over the car of Tremblay and Joe Vardy. They had a 41-second lead when they came in, and obviously these guys are going to have somewhat similar length pit stops, which will obviously, would think, put the Mazda back in the lead. So these guys are hoping they can get a caution, which would make a huge difference to the outcome of this race. And just look at that traffic, just never gives up, does it? Relentless traffic all afternoon. Look at that water collecting down in the turn 8 area there as they go along the corner between 8 and 9. Very slippery on braking in there. That's Reunion East Street. And they go around 9 and of course set off up Hotel Street.
HAYNER got very wide there coming off that last turn, and he lost a lot of time there behind that Mustang down the pit back straightaway. Going through that sweeper, a lot of guys take different speeds through there depending on how the car is handling, and Stu obviously got balked and lost 2 to 3 seconds there on Goad. So this is critical right now. These guys, obviously the teams are working hard in pit lane, trying to sort out when they should pit and what the fill window is to the end here in case it goes green all the way. And but we should be seeing these guys pitting at any time. They gain that #1 car, David, as you see him there, he really gets wide coming out of that turn with a lot of push in the car.
Incredibly wide, doesn't he, compared to the 32 car. You asked earlier, Gary, about the lights. It looks to me like the 32 car is in fact trying to have some lights. It's got one light up on the Pontiac there, the other one's down. Maybe they've got a problem with their lights, which could become a problem as this race gets down towards the end. The 1 car now with a pretty healthy lead as they go through the 7th sweeper here.
That one corner there, David, looks really treacherous, doesn't it? There, they really seem to tippy-toe through there.
Look at the traffic out in front of your leaders. There's a look at the 32 car.
At 65, the compact car there of John Norris has been running up in the top 10. Another one of the compact cars that's really been running strong today. And you know, those guys really are able to put the pad to the ground, and he's hanging on to that Grand Sports car. And look, he actually closes up in some of the turns, just a lot easier to handle under these very bad conditions.
Scavnys continues to lead in the compact class in car number 75. We had documented earlier what a great ride he is having because he started way back in the 37th, making that the 38th position. 30 car is now the leader in the sport class, and there is a look at the number 30 car. That is Greg LOEBEL. He has 4 classes in 1 race. We started 52 cars this afternoon as David said, very tight racing conditions on the 1.3-mile circuit.
Greg LOEBEL has a lot of experience on street racing with the Sports 2000 class in the Oldsmobile Pro Series. I've watched him and commentated on racing that he's been involved in, and a very competitive driver, always runs towards the front, and here he's leading the sports division right now.
They in fact qualified 2nd in that division behind your man Eric Van Cleef. And so now they've caught up and passed them, obviously, and running very well here in the rain. Boy, look at that rain. The amount of rain in front of those tires through this water, which is now lying pretty deep in a lot of places on this race.
I'll tell you what, though, Dave, from a driver's perspective, I mean, typically the guys in the smaller classes are just being lapped consistently through these events, and it's nice to have a day when you're actually, you know, in
contention,
you know, running up in the top 10. They're probably having a lot of fun out there today.
As those faster cars lap them, in fact, in some cases, like you said earlier, they'd be quicker through the tighter parts of the track, so they'd be cursing at the big boys for a change.
Well, there's your leader of the touring class, number 31, Gary Blackman, on board that car.
And he's probably going to turn it over to Terry Airwood, and it's worth bearing in mind here that Terry Airwood and John Green are close in points for the championship in touring, so with Green's problems, that will be effective.
So we'll come back with more from Dallas after this commercial break. We are now nearing the pit stops for the first two cars. We have already seen Joe Varney, who had been leading this race by 41 seconds, stop. His team driver, Tremblay, took over. He is back and forth as you watch first and second on the racetrack right together. Doug Goad and Stu Hayner, nose to tail, down along the freeway. This is the frontage road. Interstate 35 East off to the driver's left side right now.
Look at that compact class car. The number 65 is still hanging on there. He's having a lot of fun right in there with the big boys today.
He's really hanging in there. He's been with them for lap after lap now, so hanging on incredibly well there.
Doug Goad continues to lead as we take a look at the Jason Priestley car, and Scott Maxwell taking over that car. So Priestley started the car that had been qualified by Maxwell. So Priestley had a pretty good learning experience here this afternoon.
Looks like they had a penalty there on the pit stop. You see an IMSA official there. Oh, no, actually, there's a team member there holding them. They're just refueling there. It's difficult to see the refueler there. It looked like the car was clean to go, and they're out of there. And Scott Maxwell should be a little bit quicker than Jason. Jason's done a tremendous job, but meanwhile, the number one car is
Doug Goad from Farmington Hills, Michigan. The 38-year-old is in the pits for the one stop they planned today and a driver change. Greg, you down there?
You bet. And Pilgrim wasted no time getting over the wall already. Goad climbing out. They are going to swap out. I don't know if they're going to do tires or not, but as you people had talked about earlier, they're jacking at least that left side of the car up to get as much fuel in as possible to make sure they can make this one now with this one stop. Pilgrim already in. Look at how quick that driver change was. He's finishing up on the belts. They've already got the window net in place. The door is shut, and they are ready to go. It's just a matter of fuel. Fuel's in. Shutting it, it's down, got the jack moved, and he's away. Very quick stop, much faster than the number 70 Mazda. The crew down here celebrating. They know they pulled off a beauty.
Well, I said earlier a pit crew could win this race for somebody, a good fast stop.
I'm not quite sure why that Mazda took so long, because the driver change was accomplished way before the thing was full of fuel, and they must have taken on about the same amount of fuel. So that just was a huge difference there, so that's going to play a big part in this race now.
The other thing is, David, I would think that the Mazda went to a full load of fuel to ensure they go to the distance. With that number one car, it might have been what we call a time stop, where the crew chief actually times, and you know, they can calculate how much fuel is going in. Instead of maybe a minute 30, they did it in a minute and felt that's enough to get them all the way. And now we see Hayner in the pit lane, and he's going to do his driver change.
All right, your leader now in. Hayner had been running second before the number one car of Doug Goad came in.
This is the other championship contender here. John Heinrich will be taking over from Stu Hayner in the number 32 machine, and it's going to be interesting to see when they get back on track how the pit stops played out and whether there's an advantage here. It looks like this team are changing the left side tires at least. It'll be interesting to see. I'd have to assume they're going to the full wet weather tire once again. Whoa! And the number 11 there at considerable speed backwards off in turn one.
Big time. Just completely locked up there coming into turn one and slid off the road at tremendous speed.
That was incredible.
Quick in a Grand Sports class.
And he's driving it back out. Look at this. Gilles Villeneuve start. He's out of the tires, and he's going to bring it back to pit lane.
See, I think we have this on tape to show you exactly what happened. Now watch again. Look at the speed that he carries.
Well, he's already turned around. There's no cars really close to him, so it looks like he maybe just got on the brakes a little too late. Maybe hit a puddle of water and it turned him around, and that's what happened. It looks like it's all under control until it goes wrong, and then it suddenly looks very dramatic.
John Quick in the number 11 Pontiac.
Looks like he clipped the wall, which opened up the rear deck, so that acted as a big air brake as he slid down the road backwards, but it's done a lot of damage to the car. Luckily, the tire barrier did exactly what it was supposed to do, slowed him down, way down as he buried himself in the tires on the escape road, but he's obviously going to go round.
All four tires have air.
But all four tires have air, and they're all pointing roughly in the right direction, so he's going to come back, have some of that bodywork pulled off, and carry on.
Let's go to the pit lane, Greg.
I'm standing by with Doug Goad, who just, of course, got out of the number one car, leading at the time. Doug, first of all, the obvious question is, what are the conditions like on this track right now?
It's pretty treacherous out there right now. There's a lot of standing water now, and the problem we're having is the cold water hitting the windshield. It made it so foggy to the point where I couldn't see my apexes anymore. And I decided the best thing to do was bring the car in, let the guys put some Rain-X on it, let Danny get in and keep going. I hate giving up a car when it's up in the lead like that. We still had fuel, but it was the best thing for the team.
Well, you always got to think ahead, obviously. It looked like the crew did that a little earlier. They brought you in on one of the very early yellows and disconnected the rear sway bar. Did that help?
Oh, yeah, it made a big difference. The car was a lot quicker than I was driving it. The only thing that was slowing the car down was my visibility. I could not see well enough to run the car to its potential, so it's really too bad. You know, the Mazda with its independent rear suspension really hooks up, and number 1 Pontiac was running pretty good, but we just couldn't quite catch him.
And again, though, the crew did the job. A rocket quick stop. He's smiling.
Well, now with just over an hour to go, that is your new leader, Bernie Cochran, in number 3, but he has yet to stop. We'll come back and document his stop as we come back to Dallas. Back at the Grand Prix of Dallas around the Reunion Arena, where we've had a very lengthy yellow. The yellow began because of an altercation on the racetrack involving the Meyer Prelude from the touring class, and he ended up against the outside wall. Now this goes back a number of minutes ago, and you'll see the initial cause of the yellow.
Wow, he just done an aquaplane straight off there, Gary, as he came into that turn in deep water, just hit the left side tire, and there we see...
under the yellow. Now, once again, this was a number of laps ago. We see the second pit stop for the Mazda. And there is 3. Now, the leader at the time, and Cochran came in and turned the car over to David Murray. This is actually the car that won the championship last year for Andy Pilgrim. Now we've had a lengthy yellow, and the reason for the yellow is the weather. We've had some very heavy rain. We've had some ponding on the racetrack, and that is causing some concern for the guys, as you see, aquaplaning across the track.
Exactly. We saw that car go straight into the wall there as he hit the heavy water, and the other cars did a good job of avoiding him. But under those conditions, it really is unsafe, because with this amount of traffic, everyone's having to run the different line, and if you get pushed out to the outside, you're basically straight into the concrete. So IMSA made a decision to run a few laps under a caution period, let the weather calm down a little bit, and now we're back to, well, hopefully going back to green here shortly.
Andy Pilgrim is your leader, car number 1. This could be his first victory of the year. Your defending champion in the Grand Sport division, but he is winless in 1996. He now leads. David Murray is second. John Heinrichsey is third. And at one point under the yellow, fourth was the Norris Mitchell, number 65.
And again, we're under green here. Again, starting off at that turn 6 down into the turn 7 and 8 area. So the race is on again, and it's very, very wet out there. But the rain has eased up a bit, so the water will gradually drain away before it needs to. Just look at those puddles down there between 8 and 9.
Now just over 30 minutes remaining in this event. There was a question as to whether IMSA might stop it because of the ponding out there. As you can see, very heavy in some of the turns.
Pilgrim seems to be pulling away a little bit there, and we see the number 3 car, Murray, under heavy pressure now from Heinrichsey just to the back of the shots. We look at coming up towards turn 1.
For you fans of Varday and Tremblay, that Mazda you saw make the second pit stop to top off the fuel. They're back now in 7th position.
We have a lap car there, the number 37 in the frame, but the real battle here is between number 3 and the number 32, and Heinrichsey really wants to get out in front of this car and chase after Andy Pilgrim, because those are the 2 guys that are in the points chase.
Once again, Pilgrim having some consistent finishes this year, but he has yet to pick up that first victory.
Ooh, BMW there getting his tail wagging there as it goes through that turn 3 and 4 complex. He's had contact with the wall. This is an incredibly tight battle now for the lead in this 3-hour endurance race, and what an endurance has been for them. Just rained from the drop of the green flag, and got worse and worse and worse as the race has progressed. Joe Vardy and Sylvain Tremblay, who were leading by 41 seconds when they came in, and now they have dropped back to 7th spot, very nearly a lap down. Had a very odd pit stop combination, had a tremendously long stop, and then they decided to come in and top it up with fuel just at the crucial time when the yellow flag came out and nearly dropped the lap down.
It was really strange, David, because they went about an hour and 40 before they had to pit the first time. Admittedly, there was some yellow caution laps after that, but with an hour and 20 to go, you thought they would have been good, and they lost a lot of track position by making that second stop for Splash and Go.
But Vardy had said to Greg Creamer that almost contact, or was there contact right there in the braking zone?
Heinrichsey really got into the back of Murray there. Murray protected the inside line, and Heinrichsey already had a head of steam, and he basically tapped him in the rear, but both guys kept it going there and didn't lose too much ground.
What I started to say was that Joe Vardy had said the reason they came in because much of that first half of the race was under yellow, and if the second half of the race went the distance without a length of yellow, they could not go without a splash and go, and so they made the stop. They made the stop at the head of a very lengthy yellow. Had they stayed out, they'd been all right.
It still seems pretty odd to me because there wasn't all that much yellow in that first period. And of course, all of these cars are using a lot less fuel than they would normally do. Wow, just look at them all crap through that turn 7 there. Fastest corner here. And the BMW, now where is that BMW lying at the moment? Because he's obviously
he's playing a bit of a spoiler role there. You see him get through HAYNER there, and that car is driven by Rick Fairbanks and Chuck Cottrell. And he's obviously got in between the main players in this race.
That's Nick Ham driving the moment. He's English and he's a former champion, so he's catching up. Look at the way he's making that car slide around.
Looked like they're out there on an ice skating rink right now. Very slick. Still a lot of ponding as the race continues. Now just less than 30 minutes to go in the Grand Prix of Dallas. Gary Lee along with David Hobbs, Calvin Fish, and Greg Creamer in Dallas. The final 30 minutes of the Grand Prix of Dallas. And there is your leader right there, Andy Pilgrim in car number 1. And right behind him, is that 32 now? Has Heinrich gone to second position?
Well, we're still got the 37 car, I think, there in amongst the mix there.
Oh, that's the 37 car. You're right. Yeah, the 3 car of Murray is still in second position.
And John Heinrich seems to have dropped back, in fact. That oh, no, there he comes.
There's a lap car between.
That's the Nick Ham car.
The Nick Ham 01 car.
That's Scott Maxwell. I believe that's Scott Maxwell, and he was up in the top 10, and he looks like he's closing down on the leaders. This could be a story here in the late stages if Scott Maxwell can get that Mustang towards the front now.
Of course, he qualified the Mustang yesterday. His team driver, Jason Priestley, started the race and drove a pretty good race. Had a few learning experiences out there. Slight wall contact, a spin early in the competition.
This thing is
right now he's having a good ride.
That's right. This thing is really now a 30-minute sprint race to the finish here, and these guys are really going to be going for it. You see David closing out on the back of Andy Pilgrim there as they go into turn 1. And he's getting on the power a little earlier.
On the inside.
And he's on the inside coming down to what is going to be a left-hander, so he's got the right line now. He's going to squeeze his way by.
And David Murray takes the lead with less than 30 minutes to go. Murray in the car that won the championship last year for Andy Pilgrim now has the point. Pulls away just a bit.
That was a really good maneuver. He got down on the inside going into that right-hander at turn 1, pulled alongside coming out, and then of course he was well positioned for the next longish right-hander. So David Murray snags the lead.
Would you call that textbook?
It was pretty much a textbook, especially considering the condition.
It's turn 7 here. This was treacherous. The guys are really slowing down. They're obviously being very cautious through there. And look at that BMW sideways there. Nick Ham coming through turn 7, completely sideways. He thinks it's an English summer day out there, and he's really going for it.
Put him on a dirt track in a sprint car somewhere.
Yeah, you know, he was having fun.
Greg, how you holding out down there in the pit lane?
Well, it's a little wet, obviously. However, we've got a bit of a crisis happening down here. You can see right now the number 30 Honda Prelude is dumping fuel. You can see the gas tank has literally come detached from the mount and is dumping all the fuel out of the track. Greg LOEBEL was the driver at the time. He's gone to clean up, and I'm with Fred Hutig, who's the crew chief on the team. And Fred, what happened?
The strap on the gas tank came loose. He must have hit something or bottomed out in the track to knock it down. One strap was hanging. Next strap came loose. The tank drug on the wave-by lap, and when we got her to try to fix the car, we smelled gas, and next thing we saw, the tank was leaking.
One of the IMSA officials just stopped by and was telling you something. What's up? What's going to happen?
Well, they're going to bring a fire truck down here, and they're going to hose the gas out so we can get, as if there's not enough water, we're going to put a little more water down so we can get rid of the leaking fuel. We only had a quarter of a tank left, so it should be all over with by now.
All right, again, just trying to make it as safe as possible down here in pit lane.
Well, of course, at one point, that car was leading the sport class. And by the way, Greg, a problem right there. That's the 37 car that had been in among the leaders.
Wow, then he comes out of the wall and nails the 46 car there. Just came out of the wall and set off and hit the 46 cars that came by.
As we get things sorted out there on the backstretch, Greg, earlier you had commented about some lightning down there.
There was a little bit of lightning. We were standing underneath one of the awnings here just trying to stay dry during the yellow. All of a sudden, the sky just lit up, and then it really started thundering down here. So there's a concern. Haven't seen that for a while. Hopefully that's passed.
Pretty good shot on the inside wall there. And unfortunately didn't stay on the brakes, and the car rolled back into the 46 car of Maxwell.
That was the 37 car of Joe Accolanti and Jim McCallion, and that, of course, as you had already pointed out, Calvin, was a lap down and was staying up there with the leaders, but of course he came to grief at that particular turn. You were just saying a few moments ago, it was so slippery, that 7 corner, and spun around, tagged the wall, and then tagged the 46 car. I think it was the 46 car. There is the car, the 49, the Honda Accord, that brought out the caution flag in the first place. But as you can see, the rain is certainly easing up just a little bit now, so conditions will slowly start to improve.
And a big change here in the championship, potentially. Heinrich has got around Andy Pilgrim and is now running second. So this is big news here when we look at the championship. We're obviously coming to the close of this now. We've got 2 races left, and every point is crucial at this stage of the game.
So Andy Pilgrim obviously not liking that #1 car with the roll bar, the rear roll bar disconnected as much as the previous driver. So he's obviously not finding it to his suiting at all.
Actually, you said 2 races to go. It's actually about a race and 1/6. We have about a little over 20 minutes to go in this event. And there's a look right now at the current standings as the rain continues to fall here in Dallas.
The network. Yep, it's all original.
After a very lengthy delay because of the weather, we're getting into a pretty good battle now up in front of the Sprint Grand Prix of Dallas, the 3-hour IMSA Endurance Championship in the final 20 minutes or so. Once again, the #3 car of David Murray leads the way, and you can see the gap back to second position, number 32, John Heinrich. Third position now is Andy Pilgrim.
And those 2 leaders are really pulling away. Wow, see there, Heinrich tail out as he went through that turn 7. There you see first and second in the frame. And then at the back of that group now is the #1 car. It's about to be passed by the 46 car, I believe. Is that right?
I'm not quite sure, David. It's certainly the white Mustang. I'm not sure if that's the 46 or not. There's a couple of them running together. It's tough to see on the screen right now, but you see there David Murray coming through the corner, really fighting the car as he's coming through there. He can see that Heinrich has got up to the second position. I'm sure his crew at this stage of the game is giving him splits, and he realizes that he needs to keep the pace up. And down in the pits, Greg Kramer is with one of the front-running guys.
Murray, who is running so well, just made a pass recently for the lead. The guy that really got that car up into position through some of this torrential rain early is with me, Bernie Cochran, who started off in the #3 entry. Bernie, it was, first of all, a great drive. The yellow came out at a perfect time. Then your crew just nailed the stop for you.
The crew did a wonderful job. I mean, the Pontiac Fiber was handling so well. The Toyota tires, we put rains on right before the start of the race, and everything worked so good. I'll tell you what, I'm more nervous in here than I was out there right now.
It's understandable. How were the conditions when you turned it over today?
The conditions were very treacherous. We kind of kidded around. Dave said, I'll get in at the end. Hopefully it'll be dry. And I think it got raining heavier right towards the end. And I was kind of glad to get out of there and get him in there.
Not too bad, though, being able to turn the car over to a driver of Dave Murray's caliber. They're looking for a strong finish here, no doubt.
You see he started 4th, currently up in front.
And John Heinrich in the 32 car is definitely making ground. And now David Murray is catching up with some traffic here in a bad position. He's got to go through the 9 complex, so that's going to slow him down a bit, and he'll slow down his speed onto the straightaway here. Now, that's not the 46 car, was it?
No, I don't think so.
I think that's the 64 car.
Now, Murray is catching traffic in a spot he really doesn't want to catch traffic.
The other thing you talked about earlier, Gary, is the mental exhaustion that places on a driver. Right now, we've got guys who are relatively fresh, obviously, so it's not so much of a factor. But the track is very treacherous, obviously, with the rain, but also all the painted stripes on the road, the different road surfaces, going from concrete to cobblestones back to asphalt. You really have to keep your concentration at 100% and at the same time deal with this lap traffic.
Visibility, though, looks a little better than what we had anticipated it being at this juncture in the race, because it looks like the skies have lightened just a bit. David, you talked about getting this late here in Dallas at this time of the year. It might be very dark if it were raining as hard as it was, 20 laps ago.
That doesn't seem to be a problem now. I thought it was going to get pretty gloomy, but I think the sky is lightening up a bit. It's still raining hard, but not as hard as it was, and I think the sky is clearing a bit. There you see the 32 car of John Heinrich sliding through that turn 7. And that 16 car coming up behind them, that is the car of Bennett Dorrance and Frank Simon. So I'm not sure whether, in fact, that's not catching up.
Well, Heinrich is in the 32 car. His teammate is standing by in the pit lane with Greg Creamer.
Well, of course, Heinrich in the thick of the points chase. Stu Hayner started that car, number 32. You did your job, kept it up front. What's John saying, if anything, and can he get the job done here?
Well, I haven't talked to John since it went back to green. I know that when I got out of the car, it was a real mess out there. I think the rain's lightened up quite a bit now, but it was pretty dangerous out there, actually, with all the hydroplaning and stuff like that. John's in second. I think he got held up a little bit. Now, if he can just catch up, looks like he's doing it right now. He just went by, and if he can catch up, I think we can be with him. Really, the concern we have now is the 70 Mazda. He has so much straightaway speed on all of us that he's catching us about 3 seconds a lap. Because straightaway, obviously, is a place you can go in the rain. You just can't go around the corners. So that's going to make the difference, I think.
All right, and of course, John Heinrich, tremendous experience in this category of racing. He's a good guy to have in the car.
Well, of course, Stu Hayner, not bad himself, a winner of 8 races here in the IMSA Endurance Championship Series. Also was the 88 SCCA Corvette Challenge Series champion and the 88 SCCA Pro Endurance Series champion. So a lot of these teams have some very qualified drivers. Obviously, we've talked in the past over the course of this season that some of the drivers may buy the ride, they bring a sponsorship in, they own the team, they like to drive, and they hire a hired gun that is really the shoe. But in this case, in car 32, you got 2 guys that have equal talent.
Yeah, these guys have run with GM and Chevrolet for a lot of years now, and Heinrich does a lot of the testing and development work for Chevrolet, and obviously very experienced. These guys have run a lot together, and they're really, you know, right now, Heinrich has a good 11-point lead over Pilgrim in the championship, and with a finishing in front of him here today, this could put him in a very strong position to clinch the championship.
Well, obviously, a lot of questions to be answered in the rain. How many will get answered? We'll find out as we come back. Stay with us. And as you can see, the sky has indeed lightened just a bit, not raining quite as hard as it was earlier as we are back in Dallas. Gary Lee along with David Hobbs, Greg Creamer, and Calvin Fish. And once again, you take a look down the fastest section of this racetrack. That would be on that frontage road along Interstate 35 East, and that is David Murray out in front in car number 3.
Heinrich is really closing in on him, but unfortunately for John, he's got the 07 car in between he and David, so he wants to get him out of the way and chase after David and try and put some pressure on. Obviously, they will have radioed to John Heinrich and told them that the 70 Mazda, the Tremblay car, is catching fast, so he's going to be pushing very hard at this stage of the game.
Ooh, gets pushed wide there as he comes onto the straightaway. Probably had to lift a little bit, which is going to lose him some momentum as they come onto the straightaway down into the turn 1 area. Very, very slick here. As you can see, the road up, so he's positively glistening there into this turn 1. Very, very tight and narrow. Again, David Murray in the 3 car. He did that perfect pass earlier on, and now has got the lead, but Heinrich is catching him up. Meanwhile, Andy Pilgrim, of course, who was leading, has dropped back into 4th spot now.
Of course, there still is a question, do we have enough time for that turbo Mazda to make its presence felt?
Well, that's going to be, there's not much time left. There really isn't. I guess it's around about
15 minutes or so.
Yeah, 15 minutes or just a tad under.
And he's now in 4th position.
Well, he's sort of making ground, but look at the traffic.
33 seconds between 1st and 4th. So can he make up 33 seconds in 15 minutes?
It's going to be close. I mean, these guys are probably running, you know, they ran pretty quick lap times, obviously, in qualifying, about 1:05. They slowed down a bunch. So that should be about 10 laps. And 3 seconds a lap, that's 30 seconds. So it's going to be very close here at the end. It should be very interesting.
And a lot of it, of course, is going to depend on traffic, because there's still a tremendous amount of traffic out there, and any one of them, the number 3 car, the 32 car, or of course the 70 car, just get boxed in at the wrong time, and obviously all your efforts come to nothing.
But really, for the 70 car to be most effective with the turbo power, he needs that dry track to get that horsepower hooked up.
Well, it would certainly help him, and of course he doesn't want too much traffic either, because he doesn't want to get on off the throttle too much. That'll not help him. But it, you know, as we saw in the hands of Joe Vardy earlier on, even though it was raining, he pulled out a 40-second lead before his first pit stop. And I still can't help thinking that the team somewhat gave this race away by making that second stop. It seemed to be pretty poor judgment to me. But there again, they know their car far better down there than we do up here.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive how the Mazda pulled away from the field there with Joe at the wheel, as you mentioned, David. And typically a turbo car is very difficult to run under conditions such as this, because the power does tend to come in a little more abruptly as the turbo kicks in, unlike a normally aspirated vehicle.
Passing the 65 car at one time, that was the leader in compact. Now that Norris Mitchell car is back in second in compact class, going another lap down to your leader.
At one stage, it was lying like 5th overall. It was amazing effort in the rain, again, which is the great leveler on horsepower. You can't use it all coming off the corners, and obviously that front-wheel drive was helping them here in the rain. There's the 2 car that was running so well earlier on. Conway was right up there in 2nd or 3rd position an hour or so ago, but they have dropped back too.
Loose sheet metal as well.
Right, and I think we just saw the 70 car go underneath our frame there, and this is the 84 car, the Van Cleef car. They were champions. We saw Eric Van Cleef clinch the championship with that point for pole position earlier yesterday in qualifying, and they're trying to score another victory. They've had 6 wins this year, and they're going after another 1 or 2 victories this year before they maybe change classes for 97.
And Henderson gets a new record every time he wins as the oldest driver to have won in IMSA competition. He just turned 63 a few weeks ago, so he'll establish a brand new record with his victory here this afternoon.
Down into that turn 1 there. Tight right-hander. Trying to let the thing hang out.
So the 84 class, or 84 car, is first in class, in the sports class.
Showing the 30 car in 3rd, but they've obviously been in the pits for that fuel link. I would think that that's going to be updated here shortly. But you know, they're going for their 7th victory of the year, and that's an incredible feat. You see David Murray coming off that turn. He seems to get very wide there. I'm not sure if that's the camera angle or whether that's the line David takes, but you will see a wide variety of lines under these conditions. People find the grip in different areas.
And what we really can't show and do justice to are the off-camber turns. We have a couple of very tricky turns on this race.
Boy, that turn,
you drove it in the rental car a couple of days ago.
That turn 8 and 9 is just unbelievable. In fact, coming down here into turn 2 and 3, it's a big car park in normal everyday life, and it has a big slope to it. And I mean, all these corners, the road slopes exactly the wrong way, that being one of them there. It turns back here, it's the right way. You got a bit of help there. Then, of course, on this next left-hander, again, it's going the wrong way, the right way. And here it's going the wrong way on this turn 6 here, which is important to get a good leg up to come down this long, fast straightaway.
Guys, race drivers talk about developing a rhythm, but I would think discipline on a track like this is so important, because you have to really tell your brain, I have to go at this speed. I can't try to go faster because I'll end up against the fence somewhere.
Oh, HAYNER did a nice job there. I mean, sometimes you almost have a sixth sense about where another car is, and he got very close to the 0-0 car. Actually ran a little wider through there than he typically would, but that's the artist at work there. HAYNER has a lot of time in these cars, and he really did a nice job of getting around that Mustang.
Always a bit of a risk going around the outside of somebody. You've got to really put a lot of trust in their driving ability to maintain that line and not sweep wide and clip you into the wall.
So in the final 10 minutes of the Grand Prix of Dallas, we'll come back and document how it all concludes. Stay with us. Well, you can see the sky has cleared a bit. It continues to rain, though, and the leader continues to be David Murray in the Burgundy #3 Pontiac.
Traffic is playing a part here. We see HAYNER in the background. He's closing in a little bit, and David is really pushing hard. I saw him come into turn 1 about a lap or so ago and really got a little squirrely, got into the brakes a little bit late and overshot the corner a little bit, and he can see HAYNER in his mirrors, and he knows that he's going to be charging hard. And of course, they're all thinking about that number 70 car at Tremblay a little further back down the track.
Wow, the 16 car there, the Mustang with the lights blazing away, had a real squirrely moment going through turn 7. Don't see the 70 car coming into view yet, though. No, we're looking back a long way there, so they're still fairly safe.
Oh, some debris right in the middle of that turn.
Whole front end off a yellow car, or yellow and black car.
Well, right now, David Murray, although he has his rear view mirror being filled up with a 32 car, he has a lot of traffic out in front to negotiate.
Boy, oh boy, there is a lot of traffic, isn't there? It's absolutely incredible how much traffic has stayed in. I think really this has been an incredibly
clean race.
Clean race.
The traffic and the conditions.
The drivers have done a great job under these conditions. They've really been very
everybody from the slowest to the fastest, because the slow guys have got a huge responsibility to try and stay out of the way. At the same time, they're trying to guard their own position, and so it's been some great driving here this afternoon because it's been a difficult day. 3 hours of it.
You talk about trusting somebody when you pass them on the outside. It's very difficult to know who's actually in one of these cars, because with 3 or 4 guys inside of the car, you may have a very good driver, maybe a rather inexperienced driver in the car, and that's a real chance to risk going to the outside.
Yes, you've no idea who it is that's out there. That's for sure.
You can come up on the same car like 2 or 3 laps later, or within 5 minutes they've done a driver change, and he may take a completely different line. So that's one of the hazards of doing this type of racing. In you know, some of the different drivers obviously have different styles and different abilities.
You know, the International Race of Champions, they hang the driver's name on the race car. Maybe we should do that here. As they refuel and change tires and drivers, we just hang a new driver's name on the rear deck.
You could do with it, really, because that is true in most forms of racing. You know, you're racing against a car that have the number on the back, and you know exactly who's at the wheel, and you think, oh, this is old Joe Blow, or this is Calvin Fish, so I'd better be a bit careful going by this one. But here, you've got no idea who's in the car. Of course, obviously, our front runners, they're all pretty good drivers who are in these cars, so no problem there. But of course, there's 52 cars started.
Back for Andy Pilgrim in car number 1. He was in the fray back there in 3rd position, but he's a long way back now.
Looks like Maxwell may have taken over that 3rd position, the 46 car, and he's running in front of Andy unless he dropped.
It might be a lap down.
Few laps, but we had him running in the top 10 a few laps ago on the same lap as the leaders, so that may be a change for position.
So Andy Pilgrim not having as good a run in this number 1 car as we saw earlier on. Obviously, it's just not to his liking. There's the 46 car, Scott Maxwell, sliding through turn 3.
18 seconds, the margin now between 1st and 3rd. So it appears that the Mazda will not find victory lane today.
The thing it may do is get in front of Pilgrim, and what that will do is pad the points cushion for Heinrich. Heinrich's running in front of Pilgrim, and if Tremblay can get in front of Pilgrim, that will put him in another position further back.
So a lot at stake with just one more race and a few minutes of this one to run. We still don't see any sign of the Tremblay car coming into the back of the frame there.
And back down Hotel Street. Fastest parts of this racetrack before they downshift, get down to this tight right-hander and across that parking lot. What'd you call that earlier? What do you call a parking lot in England?
Car park.
Car park, okay.
16 car is really going. I mean, he's in front of Heinrich, and he's really pushing the leader pretty hard. So obviously a lap or 2 down, but he's
that
really
might
doing
be Lou
a great job.
Giolotti at the wheel. Lou Giolotti's driving that car this weekend along with Greg, with Bennett Dorrance and Frank Simon. So I'm not sure who's at the wheel. Of course, that's the other thing. We never quite know who's out there in these cars. But it could be Lou Giolotti, and he's pretty quick. And he does a lot of, as you see on Speed Vision, of course, we have the SCCA World Challenge, and of course he's leading his division in that, and obviously doing extremely well here in the rain.
He's a local boy. He's here from Dallas, Texas.
In the waning moments of this one, just about 5 minutes or so to go, and this could be the longest 5 minutes of the race for the driver in the cockpit of number 3.
Wow, now what we don't want here is Lou Giolotti
messing with the leader,
touching David Murray and pushing him off.
Well, of course, that debris remains out there in that turn. So once again, your leader is David Murray. We're coming back with the conclusion of the Grand Prix of Dallas. David Murray continues to lead here in Dallas. The waning moments of this Grand Prix, a 3-hour endurance race. And right now, David Murray is looking for his 9th win in Endurance Championship competition.
Being hounded by Lou Giolotti, who in turn, and right behind them now is...
Giolotti almost got into him.
That looked close. I don't know what they touched there, but this is the last thing David needs, is a lap car putting him under pressure. It really takes him out of his rhythm, you know, and you can see him there signaling to the guy behind him, Lou Giolotti, like, I don't know whether that was...
What are you doing? Was that the signal?
I'm not sure how many digits were involved there, but...
But meanwhile, of course,
communication
I think he's going to let him go down the outside here, isn't he? And try.
This is a tough one, David, because, I mean, with Heinrich, he's so close. I mean, he'd like to keep him between the two. And there, David actually clipped that body part in the track there. Hopefully he didn't damage a tire doing that. But he did clip a tire. And there you see Scott Maxwell, I believe. Now it's the 6th. Oh, no, that was Giolotti trying inside David Murray again.
Which is, of course, allowing Heinrich to catch them both up. Ooh, more lap traffic now as they come onto the main straightaway. So David Murray's got a bit of a lead here on to Lou Gelati. You'll be glad to see that, I'm sure, as they go into turn 1. There can't be many more laps left to run here.
But you have to question Gelati's strategy right now.
Well, we don't
really
know how he's running and whether he's got someone he can catch up. I mean, these guys are in their own race as well. Okay, they're in with the leaders right now and they don't want to mess their race up, but they may be chasing another position as well. So,
I mean, this car did qualify in 9th position, so it probably was in with a bit of a chance. Might have gotten out of sync in that long caution period and the pit stops and so on, but he may think he's racing for a position here. I don't know.
Well, he is racing hard, whether it's for a position or not.
It really is. He seems to be really strong under braking. Here you see him. He's going to be very close to David. David's going to go to the right here, and I wouldn't surprise me to see Gelati try and outbrake him, but nowhere to go. Once again, David takes the inside line. He's really not giving anything away, and he wants to try and keep that white Mustang between he and John Heinrich.
Now, some drivers like to chase, and some drivers don't mind being chased. It really brings out their best. But at a point like this, you don't want to mess with a car that's a lap or 2 down.
Right, and David's really very experienced in these types of cars, and we're coming up for the last lap.
White flag, the last lap.
White flag and a yellow flag, so we must have had some sort of an incident down at turn 1, is there?
Don't see anything there.
But they had the yellow flag out.
Road. It's a long escape road there, so maybe someone had disappeared down there, but it looks like we're back under green here for this final lap. But
more traffic in front of David Murray now, which is going to make him lift off a little bit. Is that going to put him into the clutches of Lou Gelati? So a lot rests here on Lou Gelati's shoulders.
That's right. And the difficulty here as they come onto this back straightaway is that turn 7. If that car in front of him is slow through turn 7, this could really hinder David's progress down the straightaway. Let's take a look. Coming in here, and this is where we see a wide variety of speeds coming through this very treacherous corner, but they look like they're through there pretty clear, and Heinrich has actually dropped back a little bit. And,
there's somebody getting wide, spins around, bangs the inside wall, does a nice 360 and goes. Who is that? I can't see.
Continues on.
Sullivan, I don't know. 76, I believe it looks like, or 70.
It's on the Nissan, right.
There you go.
Now off of Reunion East onto Hotel Street. The final time headed for the start-finish line, the checkered flag for David Murray. And still being pressured by Gelati. Here comes the checkered flag, and Murray hangs on for his 9th victory. And there's the jubilant crew. Bernie Cochran put that car in a position to be victorious. Cochran, of course, started the race in the number 3 car. And again, this is the car that won the championship last year. Let's go pit side, Greg.
Well, of course, Bernie Cochran started the car, but it was Bernie Sr., the dad, that owns the team, put it all together. You got to be so happy.
I'm very happy for the crew, the team, everybody that's helped us here. And I'll tell you, it was a tough day. It really was.
Bernie did a great job. You got to be so proud of him.
Yes, I am. I'm proud of him. I'll tell you, with the Pontiac and with David Murray this year, David's been helping him a lot, and it's really helped us.
Of course, it's interesting. The first ever driver's school Bernie took, 1986, I think, David was his instructor. Yes. I think he's learned a few things.
He's learned it. He's still teaching.
They're happy. They are happy.
Well, you saw how close second position was, and we're checking right now because that would be one of the closest finishes ever in IMSA Endurance Championship competition. The closest was 142/1000ths of a second back in '95 at Sebring, and the second closest was almost a ½ second. So one of the closest finishes ever. Greg?
Well, we talked to the dad. We might as well talk to the son who really started this one off again. Bernie, what a great drive. We were teasing about the fact that 1986, David Murray taught you in your first driver's school. You learned a few things, I think.
Yeah, he was a real good teacher, and here it is about 10, 11 years later, and we're together winning races. I mean, you can't beat this feeling.
David's sort of treating you like the penguin into the pool of sharks, saying it's raining out, you start.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm so excited right now. This is great. This is our first win in Grand Sports, and the Pontiac did so well for us today, and I just can't be happier.
Oh, that's a happy crew here. There's no doubt about it, and they earned this one. This is tough conditions. Bernie, congratulations.
I'll be watching on Speed Vision now.
It's always nice to see a fellow commentator do well in a race, and of course, David joined us, I believe it was at Watkins Glen in the broadcast booth before his driving stint. And so a big wave from the cockpit. He has to be happy, one, he's won. He has to be happy, two, the race is over and he can go dry off.
He has to be happy, three, that he wasn't run into by Lou Gelati.
Really. And very importantly, Heinrich takes another step towards the championship by that strong finish here today. And is Garelli going to go down to the wire between Heinrich and Pilgrim? And looks like Ford have actually taken over. Actually, Pontiac have closed the gap in the championship for manufacturers down to about a 1-point deficit now on the Ford manufacturers in the points championship there.
And the winner climbs out, grabs a baseball cap, and the teammates embrace in jubilation. As, I think we can take a look here momentarily at the top 10 as some of the back markers are headed back to the pit lane as once again the Cochran Murray car takes the victory over Hayner and Heinrich. Pilgrim GOAD there in the third position. The Tremblay Varde Mazda back and forth. And there's the first in class for compact Phillips and Scavney's, 5th overall and first in class as we continue on through the top 10. Priestley and Maxwell in the 6th position. And you look at the 10th position, second in the compact class would be Norris and Mitchell. So a couple of good drives by the 65 and the 75 car in the compact class. And we'll come back with more of our wrap up here from the Grand Prix of Dallas.
You know how fast you were going?
72?
Yep, 72. Hell, for a while I was fishing out a pen, steering with my knee. Oh, son, you got a 444 barrel in here. All you got to show for it is 72? You know what that is backwards? That's 27. It's 27! 72.
Speed Vision Network. Catch us if you can.
A tough day at the races as rain hampers the Grand Prix of Dallas, but let's go back to Greg Kramer in pit lane.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm with David Murray, who played an integral role here in the first Grand Sports win for Bernie Cochran's team. That must make you feel pretty good.
I tell you, it really does, and it's the first win I've had this year, too. So I got to thank Cochran Pontiac for running so well, and Bernie and the whole crew did such a wonderful job. I mean, they're the guys that kept the faith and kept working hard. We came out here, John Heinrich ran me hard at the end. It was a close race, and traffic played a large part of the race. And we'd get gaps, I'd gain some, he'd gain some. So I knew it'd be awfully hard for him to pass me once he got up to me. His walls are awfully hard on the outside.
All right, we've already talked about how the student here, Bernie, has learned from David, the instructor. So we're over here to Chris Scavness and John Phillips real quick. Gentlemen, 4th overall, I think, in a compact car. Obviously, it was hooked up.
Yeah, I only have one thing to thank, and that's the rain up above, because that car wouldn't have been anywhere without it. But with the front-wheel drive and the way that car handled in the rain, we were just like on rails and had a good time. And he came
extremely fast car in the rain. We don't have all the power to run with everybody else, but in the rain, it's a great equalizer. And the car was there.
Well, they're grinning. They obviously had a little bit of fun here. Real quick, let's get Terry Irwin and Gary Blackman. You guys won by some 2 laps in Turing. Quickly, how did that happen? How'd you get up 2 laps, Terry?
Well, we literally had, you know, we had a 6th-place car in the drive, but we had a wonderful rain car. We set it up for the rain and anticipated rain. We were able to get rain tires early in the race and just never looked back. It was just great. And then Gary got in the car and never looked back, and I can't thank Mark Hine and all the guys enough.
All right, Gary, congratulations to you. Absolutely super job. Back up top.
We also will say that Henderson and Van Cleef win in the sports class. So for David Hobbs, Greg Kramer, and Calvin Fish, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long from Dallas.